Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we have a special guest. He's an author. He has a new novella out right now, and it's through, by the way, Bantam Press, and it is called A Grave Last Wish. I have with us Aaron Padley. Aaron, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hi, Travis. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's a pleasure, man. Now, tell us a little bit about A Grave Last Wish.
Yeah, so it's about two siblings, children, who are being raised by their father, who is quite emotionally distant and a bit unstable, let's say. And it's basically, it follows them growing up isolated, being groomed to fulfill kind of a wish of his for when he dies. I won't spoil what it is, but he's very family oriented to a fault, and he definitely wants to make sure that his last action on Earth is remembered. It started off as a short story, actually. Never got published, but I saw online this magazine or publication. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they suggest the first line. Every story has to start with the same first line. It was something like, um, on his deathbed, his last wish was, and uh, and then I just kind of took it from there. Some feedback from beta readers said there's more you could do with this. It's not very fulfilling at the length it is, which is a problem that I come across a lot. I never write enough. So I basically took it back, put a bit more meat on the bones, and I really don't like padding. So about 20,000 words later, very brief, quick read, but I think it really brings it together a lot more than a short story ever would.
And it's an interesting concept because I feel like a lot of parents live vicariously through their children, whether it be for good reasons or bad reasons. Now, what gave you the inspiration for this story?
I basically just thought, what's the most messed up thing I could think of happening to a child, basically. And also, I do, if people were to read the short stories I've put out and like a previous novella I published last year, I do write about family a lot. I think that writers generally, even though people like to say I don't like political things, I like fiction to just be fiction, I think a lot of the time you will see a writer's values, whether it's implicit or explicit, their values will be in their work. And for me, family is just so important that I just match those values with my love of horror and making things as messed up as possible.
Because I can imagine, even as a horror writer, it's almost impossible not to put a little bit of yourself into your story. I mean, I think it's a natural thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. People really, they're scared of like self inserts, is what they like to call it. But I don't see a problem with that. Just taking elements of yourself or your life and putting it in, as long as it's not just literally you being like the greatest person in the world. Even if it's a self insert and you're making the very worst version of yourself, I still think that's okay because you're not aggrandizing yourself. Yes, I don't worry about that at all, but I know some people do.
Now, you started off with a short story and you graduate to a novella. And of course, the next step is a full-length novel. Now, is it hard? I ask authors this all the time because I imagine it's tougher to do a short story or a novella compared to a novel. Because a novel, you have more time to build your characters and give it a little more character development, build that tension, build that story. A short story or a novella, you got to hit that beginning, middle, and end pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You'd think that because of the time and effort that goes into a novel, I think most people would assume, oh, that's got to be the really hard thing. And it is. It is really hard. But a short story or a novella, when you're doing it within, like, say, 3 to 25,000 words, you like you say, it just, you're having to hit everything precisely. A single word can throw the whole dance off, I suppose. Like you fall out of beat because you put one word too many. So it is really difficult. But it depends on what the story's meant to be and what it does. Sometimes that shorter length is just the best thing for it. You know, you don't want to write 1,000 pages for a story that can be done in like 25 pages, for example. So it's just about going with the flow, I think.
Now, it seems like I'm over here in the States, and I know here in the States, people's attention spans are extra short. So, like, even with movie lengths, I mean, run times, they're getting shorter and shorter. And more people are spending more time, YouTube shorts and even like Facebook shorts. Long, long form views is or projects or something that seem like they're the past. Is that something that you worry about? Do you feel like more readers are reading short stories and novellas compared to full-length novels?
I think that people just generally aren't reading as much, to be honest. It's a massive shame. That's a good point. I've never really thought about it, but yeah, because people generally like shorter form entertainment, maybe short stories and novellas should be more in vogue. But I actually feel like they're not. I feel like, you know, say 50 years ago, 100 years ago, a writer publishing short stories could probably make their whole career off of that. They could get some real serious money from that, and you just don't get that anymore because I think there's not much of a market for short stories and novellas these days. Of course, people are still reading that stuff, but nowhere near as much as previously. And I think it's just because back in the day, there wasn't as much variety. Nowadays, you could watch YouTube, Instagram, you could watch a film on like 1,000 streaming services. You could do all these things. So people usually don't really sit down just to read a 5,000 word story. But you are right. Like attention spans do seem to be a bit shorter these days. So I wonder if maybe short stories and novellas are due a boost in popularity, a bit of an explosion.
Because I'm 43 and I've noticed even my attention span is short. Like even when it comes to movies, I 90 minutes is that sweet spot. Anything over that, I zone out. Right, it turns into a 2-day project. But I've noticed even when it comes to my reading, I'm steering towards more novellas, short stories, and anthology series because you get that beginning, middle, end, but you get it in a tight fit. You get it in a short, and you get that fulfillment quick and easy. I think just us as people, we don't have time anymore to
Yeah,
devote to one form.
that's a good point too. Not enough time, and I'm very much the same. I read so many more short stories, anthologies, novellas than I do novels. I've maybe read one novel this past month, say, whereas I've read several short stories, several novellas. Like it's just so much easier, and it feels just as fulfilling to read a good novella as it does a novel, I think. So I think there's a lot of value in that, and that's where my reading habits are at the minute as well.
So I'm going to hit on a hot topic right now, and that's AI. There's a lot of creators there, authors, filmmakers. They're using AI. Well, some of them are using AI for inspiration, and other them and others are using it completely to tailor the whole entire work. What are your feelings when it comes to AI and writing?
If you're a creator, like, what's the point? You're taking the whole creation aspect away from it. I guess if you're using it as inspiration, it's not quite as bad. It is a spectrum rather than just black and white. But you know, I write because I enjoy thinking of things and expressing it and editing it. It's hard, but it's also fun. Like there's no fun in just getting AI to do it for me. It's so much easier. So where's the reward? So yeah, I'm not a fan of it. That's like the most milk toast take ever from a creative. Not to be a big fan of AI, but yeah, it is what it is. It's not the best. I'm not gonna sit here on my soapbox and bemoan other people doing it. It's up to the consumer, really, isn't it? About how savvy they are and what they want out of storytelling and how they spend their time.
Because up until recently, it didn't really bother me, but like I've started, kind of laying out the framework of, doing some script writing and screenplays. And I'm coming up with great original ideas. And I'm thinking about, oh my God, there's a fucking asshole out there that's literally going on Chat GPT and is coming up with an idea. And I don't think people even know. I'm not saying they're going by script by script, but they're getting the meat of the story from ChatGPT, and people won't even know.
Yeah, 100%. Even like just looking at pictures and stuff nowadays, I have to sit there for a few seconds and think, is that AI? Is that not? It's getting harder and harder to tell. And it is crazy. Like, where is storytelling going to be in like 5, 10 years as AI matures? There are people who think that like it's kind of a bubble and it's ready to pop. I have no idea. I'm not a tech guy. I know nothing about technology. I am a bit of a caveman, but hopefully it balances out, because if it continues like that, where it's just impossible to distinguish, people like me are going to be out of the job.
Yeah. And, and jumping over to something else, indie horror reading. I love a good indie horror story. I love horror stories in general, but it seems like the power and the passion there right now is in the indie horror. But at the same time, there's so many indie horror authors out there. There's so many books. How do you stand out as an author in year 2025? With when it comes to everybody self-publishing, there's small presses. There's just so much content out there, which is a great thing. But at the same time, like, when does it come to an end?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think there are so many aspects to it. If I find the secret, I'll be sure to let everybody know so we can all get a bit of success. But I think perseverance, I think even just not worrying about anyone else when I'm trying to get things out there, I'll send things out like 10, 15 times before I even get, a positive word back, even if it's a rejection, but it's like, you know what, you were close, maybe next time. But so for me, it's about perseverance. It might be the 20th time where it gets out there, and eventually you do get it out there if you keep trying. So there's probably a lot more technical aspects of it, like social media is a massive thing that I still haven't got to grips with. That will probably be good to master for getting yourself out there. But for me, if you can't get the perseverance side down, you've got no chance.
Now, I just want real quick. I want to say a shout out to Crystal and Bainham Press. And you're with an excellent publisher, supporter of my
Absolutely.
channel. I've interviewed a lot of her writers. But in the almost 2.5 years I've been doing this channel and interviewing indie author, I have seen so many small presses, horror presses that have scam artists, have screwed them over for the work, royalties, and so forth. What is something as a new writer that you were definitely? I mean, I'm pretty sure you've heard these stories as well. Were you a little hesitant when comes to submitting your work now? And what made you decide, being impressed, this seems like a good option for me?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of fear, isn't there? But at the end of the day, I try not to get crippled too much by that fear, because there are already so many barriers that it just leap at it. And if you start to get red flags, then start to back away. But until then, you might as well try. There are the obvious signs, like vanity presses trying to get you to pay for things. And if you keep in touch with other writers and communities, they can be really good at like helping you spot those signs first. I think as a new writer, you're probably more willing to fall for that because you're so desperate to get yourself out there. But as long as you keep a good head on your shoulders, it's fine. And in terms of Bain Books, like, they have, I know that you've had people on very, very recently who've been with Bain, and like they've taken on so many new and indie writers, and it's just nice to see. And when you're inside that family, like I am in the group chats and the posts and things, it really is. It brings you all together. It's not just a business. It genuinely feels like friends just shooting the shit and stuff like that. And I know there's been some troubles with certain people in there, sicknesses and bereavements and things, but everyone comes together to help each other. So it's when you find a place like that, you have to grab onto that, and you can't let an opportunity like that pass.
I 100% agree. Now, self-publishing, small press. Why did you decide to go the small press route compared to the self-publishing route?
Probably two reasons. One is just laziness. There's a lot of things to consider when you're self-publishing. So many more things you have to worry about. I don't even know where to start talking about the things that you need to worry about. There's so many things with self-publishing, and probably I'm calling myself out a bit. Probably also a bit of, I want to say maybe arrogance. Like it's about being accepted by somebody else, the editor of another publication being like, you know what, this is really good. We want this. I think there's a bit of validation there. That's like to get pat on the back every now and again. It's a bit arrogant, but it's true.
I mean, if there was a such thing like a self-publishing for a YouTube channel, trust me, I would have signed up for that compared to, I mean, not self-publishing, a small press or something. You know, what I mean, a small group that they promote your stuff for you. It's tough to promote your own stuff,
Yeah.
and this is coming from YouTube because you got to find that medium spot. You got to find that spot where you're not overly marketing your stuff, and you're just like beating consumers over the head or viewers over the head, potential viewers, and that part where you're not doing nothing at all, and you're not going to grow either way. So you got to find in that medium spot, and it takes a lot of work and time to figure out that.
Yeah, I mean, you spend like what 6 months a year, even more, writing and editing and sending to beta readers and being crushed by feedbacks. It's not as good as you wanted, and all these things, and you finally get it accepted, and you think that's it, and then you realize like you've only just got past like maybe the first 50% of the whole process, and there's so many other things to do. It is really, really difficult. And it's just about trying not to let that get you down, and you, like you said, trying to find that medium.
Now, do you access and use a lot of there's a lot of indie horror Facebook groups and Instagram groups. Do you try to network and even promote your work in those as well?
Yeah, I use a lot of Blue Sky actually. I'm not the biggest social media guy. I'm pretty much a ghost, but that's like the one I go to. People on there are really, really nice, but even then, you still have to try and post as many times as you can through a week, like maybe once a day, to keep yourself out there and find interesting ways to engage people. So it can be really difficult. But then I do like to keep on different sites like Facebook and all sorts of things like Reddit and things for beta readers. I think that beta reading communities are just like they're the lifeblood of writing. I don't care whether you just started yesterday or you're like Stephen King levels of fame and success. Everybody needs a beta reader.
I agree. So why don't you think that the big publishers, why do you think they're not looking down in the indie horror scene and picking out their new individuals or writers from there? Why do you think they're continue promoting the same old?
I think it's I'm no businessman, but I'm guessing the margins are just so small for profit, especially these days as literature gets less and less prevalent in pop culture. It's a safe bet to just go for the same old names, isn't it? For somebody you know is gonna get signed on for a film deal, it's gonna bring in like hundreds of millions in revenue and like merchandise and things. So why would you, if you're just a businessman from their perspective, their cold hard perspective, why would you take a creative chance when you could easily bomb doing that, or you could just go with the same old person and guarantee yourself like £1 million paycheck at the end of the month? It's unfortunate, and obviously it's not right, but that's going to be the way they look at it.
And that's the same. I feel the same way that it is in Hollywood as well. And that's why
Yeah,
we're constantly getting the same old thing over and over again. And until the audience speaks up, I mean, and continue until those books and movies continue making millions of dollars, they're not going to change anything. So
definitely not. But I don't want to go into a massive tangent about it, but because I love horror films so much. We've been in a bit of a horror renaissance, I think, over the past maybe 10 years or so. There's a lot of great horror at the minute, which we're really lucky to be in. And I'd put it on the same level as maybe like the 70s or the 80s in terms of horror films at the minute, in terms of originality and passion. So I think we're quite lucky in the film aspect of things, but I think not so lucky in terms of the literary aspect of things.
I agree because I mean, even when I go to like a Barnes and Noble or Books a Million here in the States, it's Stephen King, it's Anne Rice, it's Dean Koontz. That's about it. I mean, that's your selection when in the horror selection, you do not see any new horror writers, and it's sad because there's millions of horror writers out there. I'm interviewing all of them, so like I'm like it's crazy that that all this new talent is being completely missed out on.
Yeah, no, it's a massive shame. And when you think about over like the hundreds and hundreds of years, all the writers who've made some masterpieces that never got the time of day, all the stuff we've missed out on. I think people always think, oh, the good old days in terms of fiction, because the only thing that gets remembered by pop culture is the odd brilliant thing, and then everything else gets forgotten. I think not a whole lot has changed in terms of quality, and I do think that a lot of good stuff has been missed just because of bad luck.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Well, let's hope it change. Now, listen, Aaron, where can everyone find you and your work?
Yeah, so I'm still working on, getting the website and everything up. But if you find me on Blue Sky, I think my username is Aaron pad99.bluesky.social. I try to keep up to date on there. Have a look on Burnham Books online. They'll always have updates. The book is due to be released on the 10th of January, so still a little bit of time to get things sorted. Hopefully that'll be all done and dusted with soon. Really excited for that. But yeah, come see me on Blue Sky. That's probably the best place, and hopefully I'll have a website and different socials, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of thing at some point.
It's a lot, man. Listen, trust me, it's a
Yeah.
lot. I'm in all those. Listen, Aaron, it's been a blast having you on, man. Listen, everyone, get over and follow Aaron on Blue Sky. Also, get over to Banner Press and look out in January for his new novella.
100%. Thanks, Travis. It's been brilliant. It's my first ever interview, like proper talky interview. So really exciting. I'm really happy that this is the first one that went so well.
Well, I'm about to say this. Hopefully, this one went easy and well for you, and it's probably going to be the best interview you ever have as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to another edition of The Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Aaron Padley. We'll see you next time. Take care.